So you've decided it'd be a great idea to run your first Infinity tournament. But where do you start? Welcome to the Dice Gods. My name is Hydra, and today we're going to talk about that. How you run, create, bring into being an Infinity tournament. Now, one thing that Corvus Belli has done is we have the fantastic ITS system, so it is crafted to do that. But if you've never run a tournament, it can be a pretty daunting prospect. What's involved, how much work can be involved, and what you need to do and what you don't need to do, and what's a good idea and what's a bad idea. I've been running Infinity tournaments now for a better part of a decade. I've done a few. So I thought we'd have a chat about my experiences, some of the things that you should look out for and should do, and some things you shouldn't do, and some things you should think about, and stuff like that. So we're going to do that. Before we do, as ever, do like, share, subscribe, and all that good stuff. That helps the channel grow, and it gives me more time to do more of these. I've got a huge backlog of Infinity stuff to do at the moment, and no time to do it in, so that's a bit of a challenge. But people like patrons and our channel members really help to literally buy me the time to produce more videos. So thank you to them, especially to the mighty Joe Rogers. And if you can afford to not spend some money on a cup of coffee this month, maybe consider sponsoring the channel. You can do that, as I say, on Patreon or as a channel member. Let's get into the video. Okay, with that bit out of the way, let's dive into this. Now, I'm doing this without a script. I got a few notes over here, but no script. Why? Because I've written a couple of scripts for this. They got to about 8,000 to 10,000 words, which is basically a video essay. And I decided that we weren't doing that, because that's just stupid. I want to try and keep it a little bit more focused, but get comfortable, and hopefully there'll be a logical flow to this, and it'll all make sense, and it'll all help you. If you want to run a tournament for Infinity, it is going to be work. Let's be absolutely clear. There is a lot of things you're going to have to do, and a lot of moving parts you're going to have to pull together. But I commend you for that instinct. Tournaments are a fantastic way of bringing the community together. It attracts people from different areas if you promote it, and will expand your player base and your community and your friendship groups, and it will give you a chance to try different things that you never would have tried any other way. And yeah, it stimulates the community to grow. If you are basing it in a friendly local game store or something like that, it increases the visibility of the system. You will get more players the more tournaments that they see. Simple as that. Beautiful tables filled with beautiful miniatures brings beautiful people, and everyone else, but beautiful people too. So I commend you for that instinct. It is a lot of work. It is worth it. It is fun a lot of the time, definitely. And you get out of it what you put into it. I view the role of a tournament organizer, TO, as I'm going to refer to it as from now on, as facilitating. We are there to make things happen. We are there to create a nice, smooth experience. Now, some people are player TOs, which is they play in their own tournaments. I try not to. I think I've done it twice in living memory, because I don't think that you can have the focus that you need on the tournament if you play in it. I don't think you have the impartiality if you play in it. It's not the same experience for players. They don't have somebody present who is there to support their day, assuming you do it over a day. More about that in a minute. So if you want to be a player TO, fair enough. Just bear in mind that you will be complicating your life. And I'd certainly recommend for your first tournament experience, if you've never run a tournament before, ever, don't play a TO it, just TO. You will be busy. You will very rarely have nothing to do. Second thought, there is a system for Infinity currently called OTM, which is the Online Tournament Manager. This is where we store all of the results, and it does all these sort of pairings and stuff like that. I'm going to talk about it. I'm not going to show it because that's something that should be being upgraded soon. And if I show too much of that, then this video dates really quickly. So I want to talk more about the overarching concepts behind running a tournament than the specific nitty-gritty on the day. I hope that's okay. Of course it's okay. You're still here. It's great. So those are my first thoughts. The next thing we're going to is planning, because before you even really tell anyone that you are going to do a tournament, that you're dumb enough, you've decided that you don't like life and you just want to do admin for fun, you need to do planning. You need to plan and structure what's going to happen. Now, what do I mean by that? You're going to need somewhere to run this. You are going to need tables. By that I mean tables of terrain. I, as a TO, I have 3 full Infinity tables, just because that's how that's kind of shaken down. It's like that. That's nice and easy. Straight away, I can do a 6-player event just on my own. Fab. You need visibility, not just of who's got a table, but who can bring that table, because you will find that some people can't. They can't transport the table. They may have one at home, but maybe it's built into 1 foot by 1 foot blocks. Maybe they don't have a way of storing it safely to transport it. So you may have 10 tables in your local community, but you may only have 5 that you can get access to. A lot of people don't want to bring a table to a tournament. Infinity tables are not cheap. So if somebody's just like, I don't know, I don't want a bunch of strangers playing on my table, thank you very much, so be it. It's their call. So you need to get some kind of feeler out there to your community and say, look, if I do this, who has a table that I can borrow? Who's going to lend that, be prepared to come on the day? You have to come early. You have to get your own table set up. I'm going to check it, make sure I'm happy with it. And then at the end of the day, you're going to have to break it down and you're going to have to take your table home. So for the privilege of loaning me your table, you're going to have to do all the work around that table. It is an ask. It is something to keep in your mind. You are asking a favour, and it's not a small favour from people. So find out who's prepared to. Find out what they have. You also find sometimes that you'll be surprised. There are a number of people in my own community that I was like, does anyone have a table? And I got back, well, I got 2. Okay, awesome. So put the feelers out there. Find that out first, because the number of tables that you have will define the number of players you can have. It's as simple as that. When you have that number of tables sorted, you need to figure out a venue, a place to play. If you have a local friendly gaming store with a playing centre of some description and tables you can set up on, fantastic. Ask them if they're prepared to let you. Don't assume that they will, because often if the store doesn't stock Infinity, for example, they may not be prepared to let you host there. It's that simple. When our own community here, there's about 30 of us that play Infinity in the area that I live. It's about 30 of us, and I approached a store who shall remain nameless, not a million miles away. They're a gaming store, and I said, like, you've got a playing area. Could we have one night a week? And they went, no, we don't sell it, and it's a minority system. So you'd be amazed what some companies will say, and what some stores will say. They may not be prepared to support it. So you need to find these things first. You need to get these ducks in a row. Do I have somewhere to play? Do I have something to play on? These things are important. With that cleared in your mind, you then need to start structuring what you want to do. If you are if this is your first tournament, a 1-day tournament is the way to go. It is very much the way to go. But you still have choices to make around that. How many points are your players going to have access to? Are you going to run any of the variant modes of Infinity? Are you going to allow reinforcements? Are you going to do spec ops? Are you going to do mercenaries? there is a wealth of different ways that Infinity can be played, and you need to, as a TO, before you go out to the world, decide, this is the way that I want to play. Those niche options, the spec ops, the reinforcements, they add complexity. If you are newer, if you are a newer player, if you are a brand new TO, if you've never done this before, if you have a new community, I would say leave those ones in the toolbox. Keep it simple. Keep them out of the way. Because the more of those that you add into the equation, the more complicated the day becomes, the more questions you're going to get asked, especially with newer players. Speaking of newer players, are you going to design your day to be for newbies? Because if you have a lot, if you're a new community, it is actually quite nice to say, this is a newbie friendly tournament. We're going to do basic missions. We're going to keep it simple. There's going to be no complexity here. We're just going to do something fluffy. Having that kind of thing in place, that kind of idea in place of how you want the day to look, lets you inform your players what they can expect. We, in January, did our first N5 tournament, and I was kind of clear with my players, guys, the objective of this is to get to grips with M5 and see how it feels in a tournament situation. Be competitive, bring your A game, but the missions are a little bit fluffy. I've not gone for anything too unpleasant. I'm keeping it quite simple, keeping it quite straightforward, because the idea here is to check the rule set and make sure we're all happy with that, rather than go absolutely nuts because everyone knows all the rules. Likewise, next month we start an escalation league. That's another form of a tournament. So rather than doing a one day, we are doing 3 games over 3 months with an incremental point scale. So March, the players have 200 point lists. April, they have 250, and May, they have 300. So you have this growth throughout the league. This is because we have newer players within the community, and we have existing veteran players who are coming to new armies with M5. So this is a good way of saying, right, we're going to put painting bonuses in here. So when you paint, you get a bonus this. The best painted gets that, blah, 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 blah. Having this kind of longer term, longer structured thing is good for new players because it lets them get games in between rounds to learn things. It also lets them paint their new miniatures, which is fantastic. But for veterans, it lets them paint a new army, which is also good too. So communicate that type of thing. Decide how you want it to be. Decide if you want a very basic, a very simple, a very newbie, or you want to go hardcore. You want to go completely nuts. We're all veterans. This is just violence. I want you to go home with a migraine and a desire to never play Infinity again. That's how nasty I want to be as the TO. Be clear. Let people know what they're going to face. Let people know what they're going to see. As part of your planning, I'd recommend that you bring together a tournament pack, because there are a lot of questions that you're going to get asked repeatedly, often by the same people. Where is it? When is it? Can I park there? Where's food? What missions are they? When do I have to get my list to you? Cover that one in a minute. All this kind of thing. Having a good tournament pack that evolves as your games evolve, as your tournaments evolve, is a really great way of dealing with a lot of the questions before they happen. Because you will find that a lot of players have questions. I mean, players are busy. This is not their only thing that they do. So they're going to forget. So if you have a Word document that you put all this key information in, venue, date, missions, size, entry fee, if you do that, prize support, if there are any, painting requirements, if you have them, any bonuses that are or are not there, any rules that you are or are not using from the ITS tournament pack, all this kind of stuff, have it listed in this document and then give it to your players. Ask for feedback, take that feedback, iterate it if you need to. If there's a common question that keeps coming up, put it in the tournament pack, send it back out to people. There you go, guys. Here's your question answered. Your tournament pack is a bulletproof vest to avoid the common things you're going to get chucked at you. And it's a way of also communicating to your players that you're serious about this. This is a professional thing that's being run well and is organised and is considered. You're not doing the whole, hey guys, should we get together at the store and throw some dice? No, this is a tournament. This is going to be recorded. You are taking this seriously. You are the TO. This is your territory now. I am, when I do my tournament pack, I always include in there the TO's ruling is final and make that kind of thing clear. Expectations of conduct. Expect you to remember that there are two people involved in the game, and while it is not your job to ensure that your opponent has a good time, in fact some would argue it's your job to make sure they have a bad time, it is your job to make sure that they have a sporting time, so that they feel like they were involved in the game, so they feel like this was something that was a good thing in their day. You have that, or you can say that. Your players have that obligation, that social contract, to be a good sportsman, to be a good opponent. Building that into your tournament pack, it is that initial statement of intent. I, as TO, expect you to be a good person. It's that simple. So I put together a tournament pack and I get all this stuff ready with the planning before you seriously start talking to players. You know, you need to have a date. So when you get the venue, ask them if they're good to go, they're happy to help. Ask them how much it's going to cost. If it's going to cost much, well, that's going to be. And ask them when you can do it. What dates have you got free? And then pick one. Check your diary and pick that one. Now, 9 times out of 10, whichever date you pick, if you're in a reasonably sized community, 50% of that community go, oh, but I've got my aunt's 15th funeral that day. Oh no, my cat's going to die. There's going to be a lot of reasons that people can't do those days. Set your date and do that date. Unless it's kind of like everyone's like, no, that's our national holiday when we all have to stay home and wear kippers on our head or something like that. If it's something like that, whoops, I forgot Kipper Day. If not, really hold the line and just be like, okay, this is when it's going to happen. Otherwise, you build problems in. So don't be moving things around. So that's the core of planning. And you hear there that we're talking about as well within a tournament pack, prizes. If you're going to do prizes, Corvus Belli produces an ITS pack, a tournament pack, for depending on when you get it, sort of about 40, I think, 50 euros, all the way up to 80 euros, depending on whether it's the start of the season or the end of the season. That gives you your code to register the tournament within OTM. So when you get that tournament pack, it's a box that looks, but by the power of editing, this is the ITS 615 one. This is the big one. This is all the stuff you got in there. This, where are we? Over here. This one here. This. How am I screwing that up? This little thing here has a code on it. That's how you register with Corvus Belli to make it an official tournament. So you need one of these. This is one of the bigger ones. You have all these miniatures and giveaways and stuff. I mean, it's just a long list of stuff that comes in these. If you want to make it official, you're going to need one of those. You can get just a code digital download for next to nothing. Can't remember how much. Not much. All the way through up to the big guys, which are about 80 euros. So you need to list those out. If you're going to go and speak to anyone about support, so like if you're doing it at the friendly local game store, they may be prepared to offer you some type of support and price support. Other companies may. Try not to completely go berserk with that. I tried to ask one company at a time and be like, hey, do you want to support us because we're amazing? Rather than doing everybody. It just, yeah, otherwise you're just constantly emailing people. So have that in your tournament pack. This is what you're going to win if you win. Because people, you know, no one's in there for the prizes, but it's nice to know you're going to get the prizes. It's nice. The prizes are nice. They're a nice thing. So it's a rough outline of the bits and pieces you need to think about and you need to get in a row before you speak to your players. The next thing you need to get in a row, and this is in many ways one of the more important things, is missions. Are missions. The missions. The season that we're in will define which missions are available. So we're currently in ITS 16 Part 2. That has specific missions available for it. If you're doing like a one-day event, you're going to be picking 3 of those. Be mindful of your players and be mindful of the intensity that Corvus Belli's Infinity can bring. There are certain missions that are more intensive. They are more mentally taxing to players. 1 or 2 of those is good. Not at the end of the day. You know, you will put together, again in your tournament pack, a structure for the day. This is when we start, this is when our first round is. Our first round is this long. I normally run, you arrive at 9:30 AM, 10 AM is first round, finishes at 12, lunch, then between 1 and 3, and 3:15 and 5:15, those are your rounds. Now that means that round 2 and round 3 are back to back. There is that 15-minute gap, which is a lot about admin from my perspective. But it's going to be an intense hop. You're going to go from A to B. You're going to go from round 2 to round 3. You're going to move tables. You're going to get set up again, and away you go. If you're constantly throwing out Biotech Vor and Frostbite, your players are going to be tired and grumpy and unfocused. It can be not fun, unless they're veterans, unless what you have said is, I'm going to break you, this is going to suck. Then by all means, you want to go for Biotech Vor, Frostbite, Biotech Vor, you go for it. If you get people to sign up for that, outstanding. Send me a photo of them at the end of the day. Picking your missions is a lot about getting a balance right between certain missions are incredibly swingy. They are incredibly 10-0 results. What do I mean by that? A current mission, Firefight. Every tournament mission, every Infinity mission pretty much is scored out of 10 objective points. If you look at Firefight, you get 2 points for killing more specialist troops, 2 points for killing more lieutenants, 2 points for killing more army points, 1 point for getting more weapons out of a panoply than the enemy, or panoply, and 1 point for each of 3 objectives, classified objectives. Now, to kill more specialist troops, to kill more lieutenants, to kill more army points, those 6 points, in my experience, it's normally 1 player that is absolutely breaking faces. So those 6 points are going to go one direction. They're going to go over here, and a lot of the time, that player is then dominant. And so, frequently with missions like Firefight, you end up with a 10, a 0. That's okay, but it does create a very split field straight away. You will get kind of the top rung and the bottom rung. So if you do that first, it can be very demotivating for players. I scored 0. He's got 10. He's got 10. He's also got 10. She has 10. They have 10. Amazing. It can be a little bit demotivating. I like to put in missions where everybody can score a bit as well, because it gives people a better experience. It's up to you. It depends how much you want to be, what kind of TO you want to be. Like I say, I like all of my players to come away from it and have had a good time and to have enjoyed it and enjoyed the experience, and a positive experience. So that is me. So you pick your missions out. Within the bounds of that, the timings as well, about 2 hours per round is good. As many people have said on the internet, you can play Infinity in an hour and a half. I'm sure you can. I'm very, very proud of you. You're doing a fantastic job. Most players that I know will take about 2 hours, especially new players. they won't complete 3 rounds in 2 hours. There's too much going on, especially towards the end of a day. It's just not going to happen. But if you stick at 2 hours, it becomes a reasonable day. It becomes a reasonable breakdown of a day. And as I say, the 10 a.m. kickoff, then the 1 p.m. second round, and then the 3:15 third round is great. The other thing to consider with your missions is a little thing like this. Objective markers. Because if you choose a mission where they have 3 of these and you have 20 players, you need 30 of these. And they have to come from somewhere. And the thing is, you don't just need 30, you need 36, because they'll get dropped, broken, lost on the day. So we go to set up the table. Oh, this is broken. Do we give the players a broken one? Yeah, it's not so nice. We don't do that. There are lots of different ways and places that you can get those. Got a video coming up soon. We're going to talk about some of that. But like, we have the MDF ones like this from Micro Studio. These are great. That was a 3D printed one from my very good friend, Robin, because I still could never say your ITS name, dude. But you need to plan ahead. So if you are going to pick missions that need a lot of objectives, a lot of markers, how are you going to do that? How are you physically going to have those created? How are you going to paint them? Are they not going to be painted? Are they just going to be a token on the table? If so, how do we let players know what they are, what shape they are, this kind of thing? You need to have that planned ahead and costed beforehand, because this stuff it's not cheap. And if you're going to go after somebody like Micro Art and you're going to buy it, it's going to cost you money. There's going to be a chunk of cash you will have to invest to make that happen. Then you will have to, like if they come, like the MDF that I just had there, those all come flat packed one. So they come flat and thrown. If you have 30 of these to build, that is going to take you some time. It is going to take you time and energy to do that. And then ideally, they need to be painted. You notice these aren't even built. If you get the resin type ones from a company, they will come unpainted, as this little guy did, this cane grey. If you have to make them look nice, paint 30 of them, you need to allow the time and the energy for that. I mean, there are reams and reams of these up here, because these were for an event that I had, just loads of these set up here. You need to make sure that you plan that in before you turn around to everybody and say, yeah, we're going to have 30 of these on the day, and we're going to have 15 of these, and there's going to be 8 of those, and everyone needs 5 HVTs, but it's fine, I'll give you 3. You need to plan ahead and be like, who's going to paint them? Who's going to pay for them? How am I going to do that? Which brings me to the next point. Money. If you're going to do a small tournament with you and your friends, and you're going to buy a digital tournament code so you can enter it online, cool. Sort it out amongst you, split it between. If you are going to do an event at a location, you have rental of that place, you have your tournament pack, you have this guy, you have your objectives, you have other costs that are going to go into that. You need to talk to your players about the fact they need to buy a ticket. It's that simple. You're going to spend money, and unless you're incredibly loaded, in which case fantastic, it's very generous of you, then you're going to want that back. You're going to need to, be reimbursed for the money that you're investing, which is not unreasonable. If you're TOing, if you're organising this event, this is something you're going to put time into it. That planning, that initial planning stage and writing of a tournament pack, that's going to take you hours. That's hours of your life that are going to be gone. If you're painting and producing all of these markers as well, that is days of your life potentially. They're gone too. if it starts being your cash gone as well, there comes a point, guys. So realistically, think about what it's going to cost to put all this together, time and energy, and then put a figure around that accordingly. Should you make profit? Yes, I believe you should, because there are things that you are going to buy that are going to need, that you're going to have, sorry, they're going to need replacing. You're going to invest in time and energy. You're going to have lunch when you're there, all this kind of stuff. And you're doing this for your community. So I don't think it's unreasonable for that to be covered. Profit that I make from the events that I run tends to go into buying more terrain, more objective markers, sometimes more prizes as well, because I like the look on their little faces when I go, oh, you got a £20 voucher. There you go. It makes them happy. It's so cute. Their eyes light up. I don't think it's unreasonable to make profit off of that. Fight me on it. That's how I feel. Yeah, but you need to communicate that again in the tournament pack and be clear with people, because if they're like, hey, he's throwing a tournament for us, we can go and have a great time. And you're like, oh, that'll be €15, please. What? Sorry? First conversation, let them know. But you also communicate what they're getting for that, and then make sure they get it. These things are important. The next step, oh my goodness me, I've just seen we're at 30 minutes. Sorry. The next step is to tell the world. You have to do a little bit of marketing. You have to give people the opportunity to know that your event is on and to come to it. So you're going to have to do a little bit of marketing. I recommend some graphics and sticking those on Facebook, local WhatsApp groups. If you're doing it with the friendly local gaming store, get them to market it through their social media. All this kind of stuff. You know, you will have an idea of how many people you can get because you'll have an idea of how many tables you've got. Don't let more people come than you have tables. That never works. Communicate this well in advance. 2 months minimum. You know, people plan stuff ahead, and a lot of gamers are 20s, 30s, 40s, especially with Infinity. It's an older cohort, sort of mid to late 30s is kind of standard for Infinity. That means people have kids. That means people have partners. They have family commitments. You need to get into that schedule. You need to shoehorn your way in. You let people know a week beforehand, there's a very good chance that they're going to turn around and go, well, I'd love to, but unfortunately, this is disappointing. So get it in early, plan ahead, and then communicate it. Facebook groups are good. As I say, WhatsApp groups are good. Reddit, if that works for you. Get it out, give people the opportunity to come. I only found the venue to run my latest sort of set of events late last year. And as soon as that started, we could start doing one-day events. So I ran one, and then I ran another one. And then what we're finding is people are coming back, which is fab, and our numbers are growing. We're drawing in, so I'm based in the Netherlands, despite the accent, and we are drawing in players from Belgium. I have interest from Germany. I have interest from the UK. We've had a player over from Ireland already. So when you promote it out there, more people will come. My idea, because I hate myself, is in September I'm hoping to do a 50-man or 50-player event here in the Netherlands. Yay. So we're trying to build up to that. I don't know why. I don't know what's wrong with me. You need to communicate to the world. You need to let people know. And then when they know, you in your head need to have a process by which they can get involved with this event. So for me, when people make that initial sort of contact, I discuss with them whether they're just trying to find out information or whether they're in. And when I know they're in, it's kind of, you're in, there's your tournament pack. Right, thank you very much. There it is. Communicate to them straight away. Here is your expectation. Here is your expectation of on the day, timings, address, date, prizes. Your ticket will be this is when we start, this is when we finish. This kind of stuff is really important. And you get that through in the first set of communications so that everyone's like, okay, I know where I am. Fantastic. That will all, if all these little bits fall together, if you do your marketing well, if you position yourself well, if you have a community that wants to engage with you and wants to come in and get involved, and you have a venue and you have the tables, if you have all this stuff, the day will come and it will be game time. It will be tournament time. On the day, you have two distinct responsibilities. You are both the grease that keeps the machine running smoothly and the ogre with the cattle prod that keeps things running smoothly. Okay? What do we mean by that? You are going to spend your day. So when you hit the ground, and you should be the one that hits the ground first on tournament day at your venue. If you have tables, you get those set up first. You get your admin. You're going to need an admin area. Get an admin area set up as well. Get yourself ready to roll. Make sure that you are clear-headed and you know what's going to happen today. You can already see 5:45 when everyone's left. That is clear in your head. And between here and there are dice rolls and giggles. Those two things, in between here and there, that is my mission. Let's go. As people arrive, you get people bringing tables, all this kind of stuff. Communicate with them clearly. Don't be afraid to ask for help and support. If somebody's like, do you need a hand? Yes, I do. Can you just do this? My favourite one is stick the numbers on tables. Go do that. But communicate with people clearly. I need you to do this. I need you to do that. I don't need you anywhere near here. Go out there, have a coffee. See you in a minute. There are people that will help, and there will be people who will get under your feet. And the people that get under your feet are normally the ones who want to chat. And they're lovely, because they oh, mate, I haven't seen you in ages. I know, and you're not going to see me now. Bugger off. You need to keep everything working smoothly. So at 9:30 a.m., all of your tables are set up. You have visually checked all of them. Don't leave players to set tables up and then everything's fine. Check them. Make sure that there's no major issues of line of sight. I always make sure that I have an extra box of terrain with me of my own stuff that I can just be like, if needs be, I'm just going to put a couple of bits extra because I'm concerned about this fire lane. I'm concerned about this sniper tower being dominant, whatever. Just look at the tables. Make sure you get an eye of it. Then 9:30 runs around, people will start being there. Around 9:45, bring all of your players together. Keep an eye on who's in and who isn't. When everyone's around that time, 9:45, everyone should be about there. They should have run around and said hello and given each other a kiss or whatever they need to do. Pull them together and just give them a little check-in. Introduce yourself, because there'll be people, hopefully, that you haven't seen before. Just, I am your TA for the day. Any questions, you come to me. That's what I'm here for. I'll be wandering around. This is what I look like. I respond to my name, oi, and thrown objects. Make it clear what they can expect from you. And what they should be able to expect from you is that you're there to answer questions. Any questions they have. Where's the loo to what happens in this specific situation? And it is your job to facilitate the answers to those questions as quickly as possible. This is where you're that grease that oils the day. If you have two players who are having a disagreement about a rule, there are two things to remember. One, take the time to understand what's being asked. And two, give an answer that you can back up within the rules. Okay? If that means you need to go off and check, do. But say to the players, look, if you can move on from this, often they can't. If they can, if you can carry on, if this is just a hypothetical situation, carry on with the turn. I'll be back with an answer as soon as I can. I will also, if I'm certain but I can't pick out a page number, I will say, look, this is what the answer is. Play with that, go with that, and I'll go and check, and I'll come back and be like, right, just to be clear, here's the rule. This is the answer. So I was right, and this is where. Just so people go, oh, okay, just so they know you were right, and that they see that. The other thing that I do as a TO is yell at people. And the things that I yell are typically, you have an hour left. You have 30 minutes left. You have 15 minutes left. Doing that gives people the best chance of completing their games. It also means that when you hit that 2 hours and you say, done, dice down, they're not like, what? I had no idea. Because if you don't do it, people are. They don't keep an eye on the time and they'll be shocked. But I just let him have his go. I need my go. Time's up. Done. It's over. And enforce that. Enforce that timing. We are done. You had the same amount of time as everyone else. You had the same mission as everyone else. And yet here we stand and you haven't got it finished. That is a you problem, not a tournament problem. Stop. Be brutal with that. It's not fair for one player or one set of players to get additional time because they were slow. This is extenuating circumstance. You know, there may be an extenuating circumstance, but as a pretty much a rule, I would say there isn't any. Now, at round end, there are a couple of things that you have to do. One of them is to gather up results. Now, I use paper-based results. I give everybody a little envelope, and inside of there are 3 result sheets where they log their table number, their name, their opponent's name, and the objective points that were scored by both sides, and how many army points were left alive at the end. I insist that both players give me their result sheets, because once or twice in a tournament, you'll get results back from players who played each other, and they'll have different results on. That's when you check. Guys, this is different what happened. It avoids the situation where Bob gives you his results for his game versus Dave in round 1. And at the start of round 3, Dave is like, hang on a sec, I got 2 objective points in round 1, but I don't have any. What happened? It takes a slip of the pen, a moment's lapse of concentration, and it can have a massive impact on the day. Both players giving me their result sheets means that I know. I can look at both of them and go, yep, they match. Those are the results. Players will still come back to you and go, oh, we've just been thinking about it, and actually the results were different. It will happen. We love them. We put those results into OTM from Corvus Belli, because that will then do pairings, much as you should pair, or you would think you should pair against the results in the tournament. That's not always the case. There are things that can skew it a little bit this way or a little bit that way. So we put it into OTM and let OTM do its thing, and it works its magic. So you're doing that admin. That's the first thing you're doing. You are then ensuring that the tables are set up for the next round. If the next round they need 3 of these down the midline, then you need to get 3 of these onto each table. And you need to let your players know that at the start of the next round, you need to set these up at these increments and have some way of them checking what those increments are, or doing it yourself, or have a team that goes around and does it. If you're very lucky TO where people love you, they may offer to support and go and do that. But you need to make sure the tables are set up for the next round. It's also worth having a visual check if you have the time of the tables, just to make sure that nothing weird has happened. Players will move terrain, and they won't put it back. It's not helpful. I have come across tables where a central room had been removed because, well, it was a bit light of sight. Why are we taking buildings out of the middle of the city, people? Can we just put it back? Can we just do that? Or where players have adjusted a table because, you know, actually, if we put this here, then it stops this massive sniper line that was just there. Okay, but everyone else that played on this played with that sniper line. So if you don't have it, you kind of have an advantage over the people that came before. That's not fair. You got to look out for stuff like that. It will happen. So you've got your results in, you've set your tables up. Your last job at round end is to draw the next round. It's to use OTM, you push a button and it goes, ta-da, this is who's up against who. Get everyone together, tell them to shut up, and tell them not to move until you say the last set of pairings. Because otherwise, you go table 1, this player, table 2, this player, this player. And by that point, there's a cacophony of noise as table 1 and table 2 are pushing past table 3 and table 5 to get their stuff and go over here. And oh yeah, I'm playing you, I haven't seen ages, mate. The whole room erupts in noise. And table 8 is like, what? shut up until I get to the end, and then go. Remind them of anything important that's coming up in that round as well. There can be things like, don't forget you need to draw an extra set of classifieds at the start of turn, or whatever. Don't forget you need to do this. Don't forget you need to put your objective markers on the table. Any important announcements need to happen, they happen at that point. Get them out of the way, get them boots on the ground, on the table as quickly as possible, because you don't want to get in the way of them completing their missions, completing their, you know, if they need to be starting the game at 3:15, by 10 minutes past 3, they need to know their tables. So all of the faffing of, oh, I didn't even pick up my miniatures, they're still on the table. You haven't taken them away when you finished the game. All of that drama that will happen. And there are some of you out there going, oh, yeah, no, I totally do that. You do. Don't do that. Help your friendly, be nice to your TO. Put it away at the end of your turn. And then just, and stick it in the... Anyway. And then you need to get out of the way. And be ready for the person who goes, I don't know what table I'm on. You're on table 5. Look for that. And that person, that's your end of round situation. That little person who didn't pick up the fact that they were on table 5 and they forgot. That is the other, and arguably one of the most important roles of a TO. When I am, and this is being the grease that makes the machine work really, on the day of a tournament, there are a lot of things that I'm doing. But one of the things that I'm definitely doing is when a round is on, I am walking around the tables. I am letting players see that I'm here. Maybe having a chat if it's appropriate, if it doesn't look like they're. But I am also keeping tabs on how my players are doing. You are looking for the person who is having a really bad day. It happens sometimes. The dice leave them. They go up against the lists which are hard counters for them. They are just not having fun. As a TO, be mindful of that, because we've all been there. And sometimes what it takes is somebody to say, look, dude, damn, really? That's what's happening today? There is nothing you can do about that. That sucks. I'm really sorry that happened. And just letting somebody turn around and go, it really does, I'm so annoyed. Spent 50 hours painting this army and then they just won't roll anything under a 20. You'll also find sometimes that certain games will get fractious, heated. There'll be a little bit of grit on the road to happiness. If you can pick that up, if you can see that, you can sort of be present and remind everyone they're playing a game before there's a problem. It rarely happens, but sometimes it does. We're in a competitive environment where people care. This is our hobby. We love this. You don't come to a tournament for some other jackass to, you know. Some people will get very heated, and that's how they hobby, and that's fine. They are passionate with it. That's fine. Your job as TO is to come into that and go, right, I get you passionate, but there's a point where you're not being sportsmanlike, and I need you to bring that down. You need to pick that up as a TO before you have to have that conversation. So when you have two people growling at each other across the table, you can step into the middle of that and go, hey guys, great to see you. How's the game doing? How are we going? How's everything going now? Are we all okay? And you just inject that little bit of, look at me. I'm happy because I'm having fun, which is what we're all doing, aren't we? We're all having, I just want to be clear, everyone here is having fun. Good. As TO, you can do that. Also listening out for rules errors, people just making mistakes. I've seen players who are not necessarily behaving ethically with new players, saying rules which are not correct. You have your ear open for that. You're like, yeah, hang on a second. No. You know that's not the case. I'm not telling you again. And this is the actual rule. Very rare, twice in all of the tournaments that I've done. I think that's happened, but it's good to have your ear out for that kind of thing. So you're there to make things a little bit happier, make things, and just be mindful of how the experience your players are having, and make sure they're having as good as experience as they can. If the dice are not there, they're not there. But be aware, be conscious of it, be present, be somebody that they can see wandering around with a little bit of a smile on your face, possibly looking a bit tired, possibly having had enough, just like they are, but present and ready and happy to help. That is your job as a TO. And with that, before you know it, the day will be done and the last round will be complete, and you'll put the last figures into OTM and it'll tell you who won, and you'll tell everyone, and there'll be pictures and handshaking and cuddles and kisses, and everyone will go home. Before they do, don't forget to remember to thank them for spending their time with you and thanking the people that bought tables. I mean, as a rule, I will give a discount to people on their entry ticket for bringing a table, just to acknowledge the fact of we couldn't do this without you, so thanks. But make a point at the end of the day of saying, for the people who brought tables, literally impossible for me to do this without you, so thank you. For anyone that helps you, anyone that supports you in the day. But be mindful of saying thank you to the people that attended. Yes, it is their hobby and you've made it happen, but they came. You spent hours of your life to set this thing up, and they turned up, and it's great that they did. So just take a moment before everyone shuffles out the door, just to have a bit of gratitude for everything that happened. This is your community, this is your hobby as well. And it's great that everyone is there enjoying it together, so take that moment. There's a couple of things that I missed. I think one of them is lists. People can submit their list. Normally with Infinity you have 2 lists. Do I check them? If it's a newbie friendly tournament, yes, I definitely do. Years ago, I had an individual who refused to submit his tournament list. This is when I was relatively new. He refused to submit his tournament list until the morning of the tournament of newbies. And all of the newbies turned up, and he turned up with a list that was destined for the Interplanetarium in Spain. Strangely, he won the event. He knew, because I'd said it repeatedly, come light, don't come loaded for bear, come simple. But he had just decided that actually no, he didn't want to do that. He just wanted to smash some noobs, get some points in the ITS platform. Yeah, that was his whole thing. So they can submit their list to OTM, you can log in and you can check them. It's up to you whether you do. It's useful that they do, because then Corvus Belli gets data of what factions are being played and various other bits and pieces, so it's useful for CB that they see this information. Whether you check them or not is entirely up to you. I tend to take a feel of the community and the objectives and then go from there. I will have a look at the certain players, especially if I haven't seen them before, that I will look at their lists just to get a feel for what they're aiming for and how they're playing and all that kind of thing. So that was one thing that I forgot. Lists, you definitely want them submitted. You definitely want to set a deadline at least a week in advance. And yeah, whether you look at them or not. Depends if you have time. You've got a lot of objectives to paint, so maybe you don't have time. Talking about wandering around tables and talking to people and all this kind of stuff. Don't underestimate the value of that, really. It's really useful. It lets you see things that are going on. It lets you get a feel for what's going on in the room and how things are working. You can also see how your mission selections are working for particular rounds. If on round 3 you've selected a particular mission and all of your players are like, oh god, do that one earlier in the day. Yeah, it doesn't matter, blah, 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 blah. There's always going to be somebody in the comments that's going to turn around and go, no, it's fine, you're doing it. Get good and all this sort of stuff. Yeah, I get the hardcore playing Infinity to bleed from the eyeballs type approach. Most of the tournament players that I know and have experienced over the years want to have some fun. That's most of it. They want to just get a lot of experience as well. Newer players coming in. 3 games in one day, lots of experience, lots of knowledge. Boom. So use that time as well to get a feel for how your tournament's running and ask people Ask people, how was it? What could I have done better? What was great? What was rubbish? What didn't you like? Tell me. We want to know. The people want to know. So yeah, ask those questions, ask for feedback, look for how your players are experiencing the day. And it will help you grow and develop as a TO. And you'll learn more about the game as well, and you'll learn more about the way that people play and all this kind of stuff. So it is invaluable, I would definitely say. At the end of the day, when all the doing is done, when all the dice are rolled, remember that you made this happen. You'll probably be tired. You'll certainly have a sore throat. You probably won't want to see Infinity played ever again. And you certainly don't want stupid questions. You've enough with the stupid questions. These feelings will all be there. But you just made this thing happen. You just made a day, an opportunity for all these complete strangers in a lot of circumstances to get together, and they all had fun. They all enjoyed their day. They had a really, really nice day, no matter what else is going on in their lives, no matter how terrible their lives are, or how rough it is, or how the baby kept them awake all night last night, or whatever's going on. They lost their job last week. It doesn't matter. Today, they had fun, and you made that happen. And that's a really special thing. That's a real gift to give to the world. You are handing out slices of happiness, and you should pat yourself on the back for that, because it's a good thing to do. It makes you an awesome human being. All TOs, even me, all TOs are great human beings. They really are. They do this stuff. You put in the hours, you do the work for your community, and that is an amazing thing to do. So don't forget that. Enjoy it. Vow never to do it again. Find yourself planning the next one within a week. That's the process. As soon as you're on that train, it's like heroin. You just keep doing it. You know you should stop, and you tell yourself you can stop anytime you want, but you won't. But try and enjoy it, and you will. And take photos. Take lots of photos. That's really important. Yeah, that is all of my, oh dear Lord, all of my extensive thoughts on running a tournament for Infinity from Corvus Belli. When we get a new version of the OTM system, I may well do a video on how that works for TOs. If you'd like to see that, do say in the comments. If you have any other questions, if you have any other thoughts or feelings or whatever, do please say in the comments below and I'll answer. And hopefully the rest of the community will answer as well. But aside from that, thank you for watching. That was ridiculous. I'm so sorry. Go touch grass, get fresh air. It's quite enough of me. I will see you again soon. Thanks a lot and goodbye.